Oak Distillery has a really interesting backstory, and they've started to release some limited edition bottles like this one we're going to review today, the Cigar Cut. And I want to find out whether or not it's worth it. So if you want to find out, then stick around. This episode is brought to you by Goody Goody Liquor. Goody Goody is your Texas-based neighborhood liquor store that has all your beverage needs covered. They have your everyday whiskeys, single barrels, and the occasional allocated item, plus thousands more items for you to discover. They have an enormous selection of spirits outside of bourbon, wine from all over the world at all price points, beer for every palate, and all the ingredients you need for the craziest cocktail you can think of. You can pick up your go-tos or use the knowledgeable staff to help you pick something new. Goody Goody has many convenient locations, and their size allows them to pass savings on to you. On average, you pay less when you shop at Goody Goody. So ask about becoming a Bottle Club member for exclusive access to allocated items and discounts on everyday purchases, and visit a local Goody Goody today or go to goodygoody.com. So in the intro, I mentioned that this distillery has a great backstory, and what I love about it is their master distiller is Greg Metz. He's also part owner, and he used to be the master distiller at MGP, who is the whiskey producer that makes a lot of the whiskey that goes into non-distiller produced brands. And so some people consider Old Elk non-distiller produced, but at least some of the whiskey that they're bottling is whiskey that Greg made himself when he worked at MGP, which I find kind of interesting. What we're going to be reviewing today is Old Elk's new release of the Cigar Cut. And it is a 6-year whiskey that has been finished in sherry, Armagnac, port, and cognac casks. And it says that the underlying whiskey is a straight bourbon whiskey. Although it's pretty interesting because this bottle does not have a state of distillation on it. It says that it is bottled by, but it doesn't say distilled and bottled by, which Old Elk I don't think has been around long enough to have any of its own liquid that's of this age. And so it was probably purchased from MGP, and it should say somewhere on here the state of distillation per U.S. labeling laws, and it doesn't. So this label should not have been approved, and it was, but that happens all the time. This is 110.6 proof, and here's the kicker. The SRP on this is $131, which is kind of steep for a 6-year-old whiskey. It's bottled in a 750 ml bottle. But let's see whether or not it lives up to the price and the hype. So on the nose, I am getting something that's floral, and I'm getting a chocolate note on the nose, and oddly, just a very small hint of dill, like dill pickle. But the floral note, I can't put my finger on what flower it would be, but it is pretty perfumey, and maybe just a hint of banana on that as well. Okay, let's see what it tastes like. Yeah, so the banana runts flavor that I detected on the nose is coming out stronger on the palate. There's still that floral note. It's very sweet. I'm not sure that I would be able to identify this as a bourbon in a blind because the finishing barrels have such a heavy influence on the flavor. So I'm getting some dried dark fruit on the palate as well. Something similar to like the Brookstone bag that you can get from Costco that's got like dried acacia berry and dried cherries that are covered in chocolate. So that dried dark fruit, maybe some blueberry with chocolate mixed in. A little bit of that banana runts and just a small hint of the dill flavor on the palate, but difficult to identify that this is a bourbon because it is so influenced by the finishing barrels. It reminds me of the Jack Daniel's twice barreled that was their special release. I think it was in Oloroso sherry barrels for almost 3 years from what I remember, and that's an awful long time. The finishing times on this range from 1.5 all the way down to 3 to 6 months. So sherry 1.5, Armagnac 1.25. that is a long time in a finishing barrel, so that's going to be a lot of influence. Another whiskey I've had that had this much finishing influence on it would be the Cavalon Vino Barrique that we picked. I'm not saying it tastes like this, I'm just saying the influence of the barrel and how overpowering it is compared to the base spirit. I would compare it to those two. So the question is, how would I rate it? And I would say for this one, I'm going to give it an 89 out of 100. I do like it. All the flavors are good positive flavors. It's not like they're fighting with one another, but I'm not going to quite push it into the A territory simply because it is so overpowering with the influence of the finishing barrels. And it's such a unique pour. I'm afraid that if somebody was just a great big bourbon lover and they got this, they would be like, I don't even know what this is. And that would be a fair assessment, I think. Would I buy it at this price? Well, I did. I did pay the $131 for this bottle. If I had the opportunity to reverse that decision, I wouldn't take it. I would keep the bottle. So I would say that I'm rating this a buy, but only barely. When I finish this bottle, I won't be looking for a second one at that price. But if you have the resources to invest in a unique drinking experience, this one would be a good one. I think it's going to go good with cigars. I think it would also go good with barbecue. I think it's sweet enough to stand up to a little bit of spice that you might find in, say, a barbecue rub or something like that. So I think it's interesting from that standpoint. Hopefully you found this review useful. I want you to know that you can trust that Bourbon Real Talk is going to be generous with you if you will take the time to watch our videos. So I'm going to be giving away on every video something. And so what I need you to do to enter to win this free giveaway, and what we're doing today is I'm going to give away a bottle of my Old Elk single barrel that I did a few years ago with my whiskey club, Someone Say Whiskey. We actually did a bottle of their straight bourbon whiskey, but it was wheated bourbon. And so I'm going to be giving away a full bottle of Old Elk wheated bourbon and a 2-ounce sample of the bottle that we reviewed today. So you're going to get a bottle and a sample, and it's going to be absolutely for free. And all you have to do is you have to like, you have to comment, you have to make sure you're subscribed, and you should ring the bell so that you get notified when there's new content, because there's always going to be giveaways and we try to make our content good and entertaining for you. And if you liked it, we would love it if you'd share it with your other whiskey loving friends. And so hopefully that is a great benefit to you guys. When you enter, all you have to do is go to the video description, click the link, put your basic contact information in there. We're going to run a randomizer, and whoever's name comes up first, I'll reach out to you, get your shipping information, and get your bottle and your sample sent out to you absolutely for free. So if this is your first time tuning in, we would love to remind you that producing this content isn't free, and there are a lot of ways that you can support us, one of which would be considering joining Patreon. Our Patreon account is called Bourbon Real Talk Plus, and we have a lot of bonus content in there. We have in-person meetups, we have distillery takeovers, opportunities to go to a distillery and pick a single barrel. We have single barrel releases. We have so much going on in there. You should go check it out. You can also support us by going to bourbonrealtalk.com and checking out our merchandise. We've got everything that a whiskey lover could want. We have it manufactured. I make the stuff that I would want, and so I'm sure that as a whiskey lover, you're going to find it very interesting. And this is a little bit of a shameless plug, but I am also a real estate agent. So if you need real estate services in the Dallas or Houston metro area, I give epic closing gifts. They are really high-end bottles. I'm talking Van Winkle's, B-Tax, that type of thing. So hopefully this was useful to you. And as always, we love you, and we'll see you next time on Bourbon Real Talk. This is the third damn time I've recorded this because people keep making noise, including my dog snoring. Today is a hard day to record, people. They're doing foundation repair on my neighbor's house, and I don't know why you have to bang pieces of metal together to level a house, but apparently clanking metal together is very important.